Latest population projections by the government have highlighted Hong Kong's ageing problem. And there's a growing imbalance between working people and dependents. Rani Samtani takes a closer look.
Hong Kong's population is expected to grow gradually before declining. The Census and Statistics Department projects the population to increase from 7.24 million in mid-2014 to a peak of 8.22 million in mid-2043. Afterwards, the population will decrease at a rate of 0.2% per year to 7.81 million in mid-2064.
It is projected that Hong Kong will experience population decline in the 2040s. This is mainly due to a significant increase in the number of deaths. The number of deaths in 2043 is very large. It is much larger than number of baby born and number of new immigrants going to Hong Kong.
Life expectancy is also expected to go up. By 2064, the government predicts men to live an average of 87 years and women to live 92.5 years. Coupled with a low birth rate, the government said this will aggravate our aging population problem.
Population aging is expected to be most rapid in the coming 20 years as post-war baby boomer will enter into old age. The proportion of elderly aged 64 and over is projected to rise markedly from 50% in 2014 to 36% in 2064.
Right now, 1 out of 6 people is aged 65 or over. In 20 years' time, it will be 1 out of 3. Tang noted this will have an alarming impact on the dependency ratio, the number of dependents in relation to the working age population. The gender imbalance is expected to get worse in the future. It's believed that the ratio of men to women will almost be 40 to 60 in the year 2064. But the Census and Statistics Department says this disparity is only predominant among the older population. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
A government task force looking into the tainted water scandal has found that the level of lead in some affected pipes was more than 500 times higher than the British standard. And as Evelina Leung reports, preliminary findings show that solder joints are the source of the contamination.
It's been nearly 2 months since the tainted water scandal broke. A task force set up to look into the incident released its preliminary findings today. The group said it dismantled components from the water supply chain, including copper pipes, valves, taps and solder joints at Kai Ching Estate and Kwai Lun Estate to try to find the source of the contamination.
Initially here, we found that copper pipes did leach lead into the water. And after elemental analysis and cleansing of the copper pipe here, we didn't find any leaching of lead from copper pipe. So therefore, we exclude the contribution of copper pipe to the lead leaching. And so we confined our focus onto blast fittings and as well as the solder joint. And we also have done isotopic analysis as well as modeling, mathematical modeling analysis. And from that, we can conclude that the majority of the lead in the drinking water came from solder joints. And blast fitting here did contribute some.
The task force added the amount of the heavy metal found in the solder joints of the water pipes at some homes was 585 times the British standard. And the contamination was due to poor craftsmanship of the solder joints. The task force is expected to release its final findings in October. Meantime, the Water Supplies Department admitted today a revision of the law related to the inspection of water is needed, as the current legislation was established in 1975. Evelina Leung, TVB News.
The police have reported a sharp increase in phone scams in the first 8 months of the year. Authorities did point out that no money was lost in a majority of the cases. Winnie Wong has more.
From January to August, police recorded 46,064 cases of crime in the city. That's up 0.9% from the same period last year. Among the different types of crimes, fraud went up the most. There were 7,142 cases reported, a 22% surge from a year ago. The number of phone scams jumped 60% to more than 2,500. The amount of money lost, up to $263 million. And there was a significant rise in the number of phone scams involving fraudsters posing as mainland officials. This year, there were nearly 1,200 cases, compared with just 7 last year. But Undersecretary for Security John Lee pointed out that 70% of the phone scams were unsuccessful, meaning no money was lost. And the number of such cases fell in recent months, from nearly 840 in July to under 150 in August. Lee said authorities have been boosting publicity and education to keep the public aware of these scams, and will continue to do so. In other crimes, shop theft and blackmail cases surged, while robberies, arson, and domestic violence saw decreases. As for drugs, the amount of cocaine seized jumped by 90%, while the amount of ketamine confiscated rose by some 60%. The Undersecretary for Security pointed out that most of the drugs were seized at border checkpoints, saying it's a reflection of the police's success in intelligence gathering. Winna Wong, TVB News.
A Cathay Pacific flight from Australia to Hong Kong made an emergency landing in Indonesia after flames came streaming out of one of its engines. The twin-engine Airbus 330 with 254 passengers aboard had taken off from Perth. Passengers said there was panic aboard when flames started coming out of an engine. Cathay said there was an engine defect. The engine was shut down and the plane landed safely on the Indonesian island of Bali. Fire services were on hand when the aircraft landed. There were no injuries.
A fun day designed to introduce new international university students to Seattle turned into a nightmare when a duck boat tour vehicle collided with a charter bus, killing 4 people. Dozens more were injured in the crash, which happened on a busy bridge carrying one of the city's main highways over a lake. Witnesses described the crash as a head-on collision between the duck boat and the bus packed with students. Reports say some of the victims are from China. There was no immediate word on the cause of the crash. Right, Tony, what's in sports today?
Well, the All Blacks keep rolling on in the World Cup, defending champions, looking good. At the Rugby World Cup in England, favourites New Zealand met minnows Namibia. The outcome was as expected, but as Jameson Wong shows us, the Africans won over the crowd with their spirited play.